Thank you for joining us here today on Hill Country Happenings News Minutes. I am at the Powerhouse in Oxford, and we have been covering the Oxford Film Festival. We have seen some great films, and there have been some that we haven't got to see, but hope to see in the future. Now, we have a lot coming up in our area. One of the things is Susical was this last weekend. We hope to have some interviews with some of those people later. Then we are having the Home and Garden shows coming up in April the 6th. Baptist Hospital will be having a luncheon on the 25th to raise money for the Heart Month. It's very important. We hope you can go to that. Then also we have Mr. Zeke Listenby. I hope I got his name right. His concert will be coming up the 29th, and that's a fundraiser for a scholarship the high school is doing. We are going to be interviewing Zeke coming up before his concert. We're excited. They're going to let us go backstage with him and just follow him around for a little while. So be looking forward to that footage. Then coming up on the 23rd, we have our very first USA Dance Night. It's open to the public. You can be a member or a non-member. Non-members are $12 and members are $10. And they're going to have mini lessons at the beginning of it so that you can learn a few steps and have a great time. You do not have to have a partner, so please come. If you have a partner, bring them too. I know they'll have a great time. During this week while we've been here at the Oxford Film Festival, we have talked with so many amazing people. They're very passionate about their projects, and we will be having our interviews hopefully in March for everybody to see, and we'll have behind the scenes going on. We'll be sharing little tidbits along the way between now and then. But be sure and go check out our Facebook Live. We recorded a lot of them on Facebook just so that you could experience it also. We've got the red carpet from the other night, and we're going to have the final red carpet on Facebook Live that we have for the awards ceremony. We've talked to some people we've asked them if they're famous, and they said, we don't know, we're infamous anyway. We've talked with people from all around the world. We've talked with some Mississippians that were here, and we have got to just network with some of our fellow broadcasting people. We're so excited. Please go and like our Facebook page, and be sure and follow us on Instagram. Go and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of our original programs as we put them up. Our programming here at Hill Country Network is open to creatives. Miss Jean, the station owner, she wanted Hill Country Network to be a place for creatives to work and show their project and to learn. If you're interested in starting a show, we're looking for people to do a cooking show, DIY, crafting, whatever. Let's show the world how creative and talented Mississippians are. As we've been here at the Oxford Film Festival this week, we have been encouraging the filmmakers to share their films with us so that we can air them. If you have a documentary or a film that you would like to share with us, send it to us and let us review it. And if it's all possible, we would love to show it. Please, if you would like to get in contact with us, we would love to hear from you. You can see the information on the screen. Stay tuned for the rest of the program and have a wonderful week.
My name is Dick Lentz, and I am the writer of the play It's Not Too Late.
Hi, my name is Christy Mitchell, and I'm the Assistant Professor of Speech and Theater at Blue Mountain College. And we have a drama team that writes their own material or finds produced work, and we rehearse that in the fall, and they're called Impact. And then in the spring, we go around regionally and tour the show. And last year, I was really praying about it and asking the Lord, what kind of show should we do? And Dick's play I found online, and as soon as I read it, I was immediately I overwhelmed with, we have to do this play. The way it was written, the story it told, it was so relevant and so timely, and it was just something I just knew God would help us make happen, and He has. And I'm so thrilled that he and his lovely wife have come all the way from Colorado to be at Blue Mountain College to see our performance this evening at 7 o'clock here at in Garrett Auditorium. And I'm just so excited for the cast and all of the faculty and staff and just Blue Mountain in general to meet him, because it's a real treat to meet a playwright, which a lot of folks may not know. You don't get that opportunity very often, and I'm very excited that he's with us. So thank you both for coming.
Hi, my name is Janet Lentz, and I've been married for over 40 years to the man who wrote this play, It's Not Too Late. We were living in Colorado at the time of the Columbine incident, and our oldest son was a senior in high school at that time. My memory is that from the night that Columbine, the incident happened, Dick started writing this play. He'd come home from work, have dinner, and set to work on it. I never really asked him I knew what he was doing, but I didn't ask him details. Later that summer, it wasn't until like August where I'd taken the kids and gone on a family trip, visit my family, and came home. And then I was finally ready to read it. I was quite shocked. I was very impressed. I kept reading it and thinking, okay, it's going to end here, but no, it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going. When it got all done, I thought that God had really given Dick a gift in writing this play. I know I was very touched by it. And it's interesting, living in Colorado, so close to where this took place, and this is still, when there's school violence, Columbine is that's mentioned as a comparison. We were just like inundated daily for probably a year, where it was some form, some aspect of it seemed to be on the news. And I know I had talked to, like a year later, a friend of ours from California where we had come from before. And she was just really shocked that this was still like a big deal and in the news. And that just kind of gave me an interesting perspective. It's still a big deal when it happens, when there's school violence. And a lot of things are compared to Columbine. And I know today the teacher was mentioning that a lot of these kids weren't even born when Columbine happened. So that's just such an interesting perspective, because for those people who lived through it, it's still a defining moment in their lives.
Well, we live about, I'd say about 45 minutes from Littleton, from Columbine High School. And we had heard about the killings about noon, and I believe the date was April 20th, 1999. And I was immediately affected by it. I just was literally grieving over what happened. And I started hearing the stories of some of the students. One of those was Rachel Scott, who was a Christian, and the story had come out about her that just before the shooters had shot her, they said, well, do you believe in God? And she said, well, I do believe. And then they shot her and killed her. That was one of the stories that came out. And I was literally grieving. And that night I sat down and I started writing a song that would be an expression of my grief. And as I was playing the song, I guess a thought came to my mind. I said, you know, when people start analyzing this, they're going to come up with the wrong conclusions. Is they're going to focus on security in schools, they're going to focus on guns. But as a Christian, I knew that the root cause of the problem was these killers' relationship with God. And I asked myself the question, what would happen if these two killers could come back from the dead, would they say, oh, well, I'm glad I made that choice? Or would they say, you know, I really messed up. I made the wrong choice about God. And as a result of that, I made some really bad decisions. And that formed a seed in my mind about what if someone could write a play where the end of the play was a scene and the killer came back and had an opportunity to talk about the consequence of his decision. And I could not let that go. I literally stayed up nights thinking about that. And I didn't know a whole lot about writing plays. I am an actor. I have written skits. I do a little bit about music. I can write music. But I wouldn't consider myself an expert at any of these things. But I just couldn't let it go. So I just started thinking about it and said, what can I do to try to put something together? So I started with that one scene. And I just started writing things. I said, well, what kind of characters do I need? Where's the setting? Well, the setting obviously is going to be at a high school. So what's going on in the high school? What are some things that I would want to communicate if I was putting on this play? So a lot of what's in the play, especially in the early part, is really some issues that I think are critical in our high schools. History. Jesus is a part of history. Why don't we talk about Jesus as a part of history? Science. We look around us and we have a created world. Why do people not recognize that to have a created world, you have a creator? Ethics. Why do we not look to our maker to help us determine our ethics? Well, those are issues that the early part of the play addresses head on. And in the midst of this, you have a character, Lisa Caldwell, who tries to share her testimony in an environment that's hostile towards her. So these are things that these come out of my life, personal experience and things that I have a passion for. But the real point of the story was to weave into that the life of Jason Holmes, who's rejected God, and he's bent on this path to kill people. And we see this early in the play, and we see the consequence of it towards the end. Well, this was a process that took months. And when I first ended up the first draft, I didn't know what I had. I worked on it very, very hard. And I started using different reading groups to say, well, what do you think about this? And it originally started as a 90-minute musical. And people look at it and say, this is really bad. These things don't happen in real life. But here's a part that I really like. And I listened to those people. Some of them were non-believers. I didn't just go to Christians. I went to a variety of people and said, what do you think? And they would pick out things and said, oh, that's really nice. And so I would keep those parts and I would go back and rework the others. And I went through 3 different reading groups. And finally, it was my wife, Janet, who said, you need to take this up to the high school and take it to the music director. And I did not want to do it. I mean, this guy does Music Man. He does Oklahoma. And I have this, whatever it is. And I did not want to take it to him. But finally, I said, okay, I'll take it up to this music director and see what he thinks of it. And of course, he penciled through the typical stuff, penciled through all the stuff. And I said, oh, and I was really discouraged. But he says, if you make this change and this change and this change, what you'll have is a play that has a very powerful message that you can take on the road. And he gave me a vision for it. And he said, what this is? This is just a powerful message about the decisions that people make about God and the consequences of those. And he says, I'll do one other thing. I have a couple students here. And he says, you need to get some high schoolers to come in here and look at this. So there were a couple high schoolers that he passed the script off to, and they had it for a couple weeks, and we sat down and talked about it. They did the same thing, penciled through stuff. And I'm discouraged again. You think, oh, no, they don't like it. They said, no, the problem is you have to use language that high schoolers understand. He says, you're writing 50s language. He says, just change this and this and this, and it will speak to us. And I said, okay. And he says, but do you think we could ever do it? They said, oh, we would love to do this play. In fact, we've already picked our parts out. He says, and we will go out and we'll recruit some people to do this play. So they did. That was the first group that performed it. That we finally performed it the following year, just a little bit before Columbine, about, I think the first performance might have been March 2000. After we performed the play the initial time, I started putting it on a website and offered it. And since then, it's been performed at least 550 times that I know about. Sometimes I don't hear about the performances. We think that based on the average number of people that attend a performance, it's been seen by over 500,000 people. It could be as high as 750,000. But it has been performed worldwide. It's been performed some real interesting places. It was performed as an outreach event in Lebanon, probably about 10 years ago. It was actually performed in Arabic. It's been performed in Saudi Arabia. It's been performed in the Ukraine, in Russia, places. I think it was performed in Guam once, Australia, Singapore. It really has a universal message. And I think as people have grabbed hold of this, they have recognized that the message that your relationship with God matters. It affects your life. It affects the lives of others. And it's a challenge for people to make the right decision. That's why I think it's had a universal appeal. People look at this and say, we've got the same problem you have. It's just amazing. Right now, the hot area is interesting. Probably the hot place for its performances is in Nigeria. And as I've talked to the people in Nigeria, what I have found is they have a strong evangelistic drive, but they love using drama to reach people. So they're just begging for people to write plays and to give them the opportunity to perform Christian messages using drama.
But the message that Dick is talking about is so powerful. The decisions that people make for or against Christ and the impacts that have just resonates throughout the play. And it's just, it's so exciting that it's here at Blue Mountain College and that we have the opportunity to share that with our community and not just campus, but the region. We're taking it on the road. We've already performed it at 2 different places so far. We were, you have to forgive me, Anchor Baptist right outside Oxford, Mississippi on Sunday evening. And our first performance was just not too far from here at Bethlehem United Methodist Church in New Albany. And we also have other performances coming up in March and April in New Albany again, in Corinth, Mississippi. And if there's other opportunities that present themselves, we'd be open to that. We'll just pray about it. One interesting thing that has presented itself is I know I was in college when Columbine shooting happened, and it just never occurred to me that they wouldn't know about Columbine. And then in my theater appreciation class, which thankfully Dick will be speaking with them today because they'll be writing their own short plays, I asked them, do you know what I'm talking about? And about half of them or more said no. And I was like, oh, because even not that long ago, President Trump brought up the Columbine tragedy as he was discussing different issues with school security. So it's just, you're exactly right. It's got a place, a marker of devastation, really, of tragedy, but it's brought up as a comparison. And a lot of different references for school security, and things have changed because of that. And so I said, well, the first thing you need to do is go look that up. And that's what I had to tell the cast, because most of the college students, 18, 19 years old, and it'll be 20 years ago this April. So they weren't born yet. And so they did. They had to go look it up, and there's video footage out there and other information. And I said I would be very prayerful about what you do go look into. You don't really just want to get the facts, because there are some movie makers that have, in my opinion, they've used this and had a different agenda with it. And that is not what I'm about, what this department's about. We're here to put the focus on Jesus and the difference he makes in our lives personally and professionally, in careers with theater or other journeys students may be on. But yeah, it's very interesting that a lot of them didn't know, and so they had to look up that basic information to understand what this play is about.
One of the questions people ask is, how did the characters end up the way that they were? I think that this started originally as an idea, and I wanted to get the message across, but I didn't want to exactly mimic what happened at Columbine. So the way writers approach this is, a lot of times they'll consolidate characters, and a lot of that is it makes the play simpler. If you have too many characters, sometimes the message becomes unfocused, and the focus of the audience becomes on the action, which is not the way I ended up going with this. I wanted the focus always to be on the message. So the characters are very much simplified. It's, yeah, we have a killer, and if you actually look at what the characters say, you will find that they're very similar to at least one of the killers at Columbine. That if you look at the diaries of that, and I don't recall which one it was, but I think it was either Eric Harris or Dylan Klebold. I did not know this at the time, that they really, the one that they had the diary on, he did really hate God. And he actually put that in his diary, and he hated one of these Christian girls. That comes out in the play. I did not know that at the time. So it's kind of an interesting coincidence that just happened to come out, and that came out months and months after the event took place. The same thing, there were two Christian girls at Columbine. One was Rachel Scott, the other was Cassie Burnell. I was really inspired by the story of Rachel Scott, and yet it was a story of Cassie Burnell that eventually came out that was a closer fit to the character that I wrote. I did not use the actual names because I don't want people to actually associate the characters with the real characters. However, the killings do take place in the library. And what's very interesting is we took this into some juvenile detention centers, about a dozen of them in Colorado. And it had a huge effect on the kids that were in some of these facilities. Some of them, one of them was a long-term facility, so they were there for 2 or 3 years. They would watch the play, and you could see them identify with the killer. You could see him go through, and there's a point where the killer is really saying stuff that some of these kids felt in their heart. But then you do the twist at the end, where you see what happens, both to the Christians and to the killers. And they have different destinations. And you could see these kids weeping because they were understanding that the choices that they were making in their lives at that moment were going to lead them down 2 different paths. So either go this way, you're going to have a relationship with Jesus that's going to be life-changing, or you're going to reject God and reject Jesus, and that will be life-changing as well. Huge emotional effect on them. And the interesting thing, the reason I bring this up about the library, is the minute that we start coming closer to that event, the minute we start coming closer to the point where it's clear that something's going to happen in the library. There are some things the characters say, well, I'm going to the library. I have to get to the library. Get there quickly or whatever. The audience, these kids in these detention facilities would say, oh, yeah, this is about Columbine, because that's where a lot of the shootings happened. And of course, then the play quickly wraps up and they see what actually happens in the library. Not just the killings, but something else happens there that has eternal consequences. And that's where the tears come to their eyes when they see the results, what happens after the killings.
My name is Kason Moncrief, and I play Mr. Brooks in It's Not Too Late. Mr. Brooks is kind of a elderly servant background character sort of type, but later seemed to play a much bigger role. He tries his best to foster discipleship and, in a way, right choices and godly thinking among the students at the school he serves at. I would say the thing that got me involved in this play is two things, and if you'll forgive me. I'm sort of I was trying to restart my sort of dramatic sort of way of life. I had put it aside for a little while, and I decided I wanted to pick it up. Somebody actually at the school was like, hey, we're having a drama team, and it's about this. Here's the script. Please read it. See if you'd like to be in it. And it just clicked in my mind. I really wanted to be in it. In regards to how Mr. Brooks relates to the characters in the play, there's obviously a sort of contention between him and Jason, seen as the main antagonist, if you will. I'm sort of like a advice figure, somebody that Katie can go to if she needs some help. One part in the play actually helped her get to one of her classes. As it pertains to Lisa, Mr. Brooks is kind of tight with Lisa. In one of the opening lines, it is stated that me and her talk often. About the play in general, I'd like to say that it's one of the most touching windows into how violence and, all of the gun crime that we see nowadays, how Christ would like to interject his personality into it. In a way, it's God making beauty from ashes.
People around here think you're a little too creepy. Yeah, we should find another school to mark where they face it. Yeah. Whoa, he's got a little fire. Hit me! Come on, hit me! You know you want to! What you waiting for? Hit me! Hey, look what we got here. What's this? None of your business. Looks like some sort of science project. Yeah, you're probably right. Looks like you're going to get an F in science today.
You know what it was? Then I discovered something that caused me to take a different path. What was that? I learned that God loved, that He wanted to have a personal relationship with me, to walk alongside me and help me with my struggles in life. But my pride kept getting in the way. I denied that I needed God, and I tried to hide my sins from Him. The loneliness I felt was causing me to feel separated from God. I wanted that loneliness to end. Well, what happened? When Jesus died on the cross, He paid the penalty for my sin. God could now offer me forgiveness as a gift. But I had a choice to make. I had to decide whether to accept God's gift of forgiveness or to go on living without it. I had to decide to ask Jesus into my heart or to go on living without Him. Well, what choice did you make? I asked Jesus to come into my heart, and I asked Him to forgive me of my sins. Well, what about Jason?
Graduate from high school, have families of their own, live long and happy lives. We wouldn't know about Jason, but we'd cross our fingers and hope that he'd straighten out someday. But real life does not always have a happy ending. Sometimes it ends in tragedy. Lisa and Katie don't make it out of high school. They don't even make it to the end of the day. As for Jason, he never does admit his need for God, and instead acting on his hatred for God and for others. killed several students. He then turns to the
We're at the Oxford Film Festival, and we're going to be talking with Valerie for just a moment. She's going to explain what she's been doing here today. Hi.
Hi. So I'm involved in a couple of ways. I program the Fest Forward category, which is animation and experimental film. And I also curated the show, which is installed in the Powerhouse. It's an all-female media arts exhibit. So it's the first of its kind here in Oxford, which is pretty exciting. It includes local artists as well as artists that aren't from here. So we have alumni from the University of Mississippi, art and art history department. We have the current chair actually showing some of her work from the art and art history department here. This is called Light Transcended. So this is a piece that actually showed in New York, and she's having a chance to show it here in Oxford. Really beautiful piece of the sky is really the what stands out the most. There's these amazing gradients. The piece directly across from it is her former student, which is actually pretty amazing to have them facing each other. 2 experimental films set up as a video installation. One is called Home and one is called Below the Neck, Above the Knees. So it's about the body, and so it's a personal narrative piece. So you have to hear it to see more about it. So Home and Below the Neck, Above the Knees are separate films, but they're related to each other, which is why we decided to show them together. One has audio and the other one does not. The piece just to the right of that is from Rebecca Flake. So she is from Oxford, was in Philadelphia for quite a while and just moved back recently. She did a video installation piece as well, which has to do with her upbringing. So what home is to her. And she has home is a couple of different places, so it addresses that. It's sort of a fun installation. You climb into a tent, sit down and watch some videos. There's a deer with noise canceling headphones holding them for you so you can go in and experience that. This piece right behind us is a sound installation. So this is from an artist who's based in New York. She's actually a documentary video editor and also a sound installation artist. This piece is called Infrasonic Hug. So it's a sound piece without sound. So basically the speakers move. So you visualize the sound, but you don't actually hear it. So that's the piece right behind us. The show also has a collaboration between composer Reiko Yamada and Carolyn Drake, who's a photographer. They created a collaborative piece based off of these World War II bunkers in California, where Reiko recorded sounds, Carolyn took pictures, and they created a more theatrical experience. So it will screen in the theater. And then again, for the closing reception, February the 26th. And I'm opening it up for if people want a private viewing, they can contact us and we can set that up.
Thank you so much. How long have you been involved with the film festival?
3 years ago, I served as a judge for the experimental and animation. And then this is my second year programming the Fest Forward category, which officially started 2 years ago. So,
well, okay. So were these the only entries into this category?
I actually reached out. Nobody submitted. I wanted all females. I wanted local and non-local. And this was a group of people that I thought would fit together pretty well. Yeah. So it was an invite.
There you have it. We hope you enjoy the pieces. Thank you.
My name's Shanley, and I'm here with Blue Delta Jeans. Blue Delta Jeans is a jean company that makes custom-made jeans for you. So we have a store in Oxford right off the square. All of our jeans are custom-made in Tupelo, Mississippi. So what we do is we take 16 measurements off of you to make you perfectly fitting jeans. We can make them boot, straight, skinny, nearly whatever you want, and they're going to fit perfectly. Aside from the fit, you can also choose whatever denim you want, whatever color you want. We have multiple threading options, and you get to choose your buttons. Everything is custom. You get your custom pattern, and the jeans will be perfect for you.
The red carpet with one of my friends, Mary. Hey.
Hi.
I'm so proud for you to put a film in here tonight. Tell us a little bit about it.
So my film is called Dear Hubert Creekmore, and it's about Hubert Creekmore, who is he was a writer in Water Valley, and he lived in the 1930s, 40s. He went to he was born in 1907. He was raised in Water Valley, went to school there, and then he ended up going to Ole Miss. And then once he got out of Ole Miss, he ended up in New York after the war, and he wrote what ended up being like 3 novels and a bunch of poems. He was really a poet, and he was a translator. He spoke like 3 or 4 different languages. So I got interested in this project because I had a professor at Ole Miss tell me that there was a film grant available, and hey, you should do it on this person because he's a famous Mississippi literary figure who not a lot of people know. He considered Eudora Welty family. Her brother married his sister, so they considered each other like in-laws. And he was the one who actually encouraged Eudora to send off her work. He never really read it, like she didn't let him read it prior to that, but he told her where to send her short stories to get published. And then, he was off in New York, and then he passed away, and his books are out of print. So,
Wow. So what's one of the names of his book?
so he wrote 3 novels. One of them was called Figures of Night, which ended up being in a trade paperback called Cotton County. He also wrote a book called The Chain of the Heart, which he worked on from like grad school. So he started it in 1930. He didn't get it published in 1953. So that was sort of like his passion project. And then his other book that I sort of focused on was called The Welcome. And all of the books are set in a small town called Ashton, Mississippi, which is Water Valley. So, yeah.
That is so interesting. I can't wait to watch the film tonight.
I hope you like it. It's my letter to Hubert Creekmore, and the title says it all. And the reason I did that is because I'm a journalist. I come from a journalism background, and when I was doing my research on him, I found that I had a lot more questions than I was finding answers. And Hubert was really the only person that could answer those questions for me. So this is sort of my interview of him, and I use source material from his books and his poems. Also knowing the letters I've read in the archives to kind of get my answers. So, but it's told with 2 voices. It's my voice, and then my husband Jeff. Thanks to his theater background, lend his voice as the Hubert Creekmore. So it's. I hope you like it.
I'm sure I will. Thank you so much for talking with me. Now tell them your name, because I know your name.
So I'm Mary Knight, and my film is called Dear Hubert Creekmore. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. We are on the red carpet, literally, getting to talk to some of the special guests here tonight. So, guys, tell me your name.
Raid.
Rico. David.
And what do y'all do?
Drums and background vocals.
I'm a guitarist and background vocals for Negro Terran.
Guitar, rhythm, lead.
And also we need to shout out the founder of the group and bassist for the group. He could not be with us tonight, Omar. Or couldn't be here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your group.
Well, and also here's our director, John.
Of the documentary that is showing tonight,
Yes.
John Rash. The reason that we're here, actually.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you.
So tell your name again.
My name's John Rash, and I was the director and producer of the film about Negro Terror.
Yep.
So how did this all come about? How did y'all get together?
Well, at first, okay, cool. Well, at first, the bassist frontman Omar, he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, I got this crazy idea." I said, "What you want to do?" He said, "I want to do an all-black punk band." I said, "Absolutely." Done on done. He said, "You know anybody that can play drums?" I said, "I got the exact person for you." And I called this guy, and it just shot off after that. And this guy over here is Omar's brother. He was already in the wings anyway, but he was doing other stuff musically, and lately he's been able to hop on with us, and now he's a part, like he wasn't already. But I mean, but he's officially a part of us now.
So how did y'all come up with a punk band?
Well, the concept behind that starts with Omar, and he's been really planning this band for over a decade now. As a matter of fact, he was going to go back to his native New York to do this. but something told him to stay here. And of course, he is a versatile musician in and of himself, and we're all versatile. And so he can go from reggae and ska to hardcore punk and oi almost like it's nothing. Wow. So he always wanted to have a punk rock band to, start. And so here we are.
Here you are. So how did you hear about the guys?
So I actually moved to Oxford about 1.5 years ago, and I was looking for things to do, things in the area, and obviously Memphis has an amazing music community, so I was checking out where to go for the weekend to check out some music. And I used to play in punk and hardcore bands, so I gravitate towards that type of music when I'm looking for, shows to check out. And I saw this name on an internet listing, Negro Terror. And I was like, okay, this can either go one of two ways. And I'm hoping that it's not the negative side, because then I'm going to be scared to go to any shows here at all. And I did research from there and checked out their YouTube channel, found that they're a band that's not only amazing musically, but has a message. And they have this video that took a song from a 1980s white supremacist punk band, and they appropriated that song and then put footage of police brutality and contemporary sort of American, basically they flipped the song on its head. And I was like, okay, these guys not only are great musicians, but they have a message, and they want to put that message out there. I think I'm going to get in touch with them and see if we can do a little profile film. And luckily they were open to me following them around with a camera for half a year. And the more I followed them, I realized this isn't going to be a 20-minute short film. It turned into a feature-length documentary, because each member of this band has an interesting perspective, an interesting background. So that was a story worth telling in more than 20 minutes. Right.
Thank you guys for staying and talking with us here, and we will bring you more later. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Kiwi with Hill Country Network, and I am with Tommy Settlemeyer. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us about yourself. Where are you from? How'd you end up here?
I'm originally from Arkansas, and I've been living in Colorado. And I wound up in Tennessee. I met a woman online and came down there to see if things would work out. And things didn't work out, so wound up stranded in Mississippi.
So you're homeless.
Pretty much, yeah.
How do you get by day to day?
By the grace of God.
Grace of God.
By the grace of God. I don't have any family left alive or living, and it's been about a 5-year stretch. I've been divorced twice, and I guess I lost my religion pretty much. I kind of lost faith in humanity and people along the way. I guess you could say I used to be a materialistic person. I put my faith in things instead of people, and I always worked and got by, and I've been divorced twice and pretty much walked away from everything both times and had to start over. Went to different places to try to start over, and I'm from the South, and I like the South, and the people are just a different breed of people than it is, say, in Denver, Colorado, or St. Louis, Missouri. I've been all over. Miami, Florida. I just don't like it there. You can get by and make a living, but that's all you do. It's like a rat race. And you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. I don't believe you can.
So you tell us that you're going to try and go to Tupelo to see if they have any room available in the Salvation Army shelter.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am. I've been told that's the nearest place that you can get some assistance.
40 miles?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm not a thief, and I'm not a crook.
No.
That ain't a good life for nobody. So, and I'm not a proud man anymore. I put my pride aside, and I'm not too proud to ask for help. I know that I need it, and this ain't no life. Living just hand to mouth, it's not, I don't know how to act. I've never ever had to be in this situation before, and it is a humbling experience.
I can imagine. What would you like to...
I'd like to stay in this area, you know.
You'd like to stay in this area after Tupelo, coming back from Tupelo?
Maybe so. I mean, it's a small community, and I kind of like that. I'm a small town guy, and I like the areas, and I like the people. I mean,
we have, it's a great small city. We have plenty of opportunities. We'd love to have you here. We just hope that you get on your feet.
Well, I'm going to do my best.
And we're going to follow you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's homelessness is an epidemic nowadays, and it don't matter from the smallest town in the United States to the biggest city in America. It's of epidemic proportions, you know, and that's a sad, sad thing. There's not enough help for the people that really, really need it. And it's the people that really, really don't that give it a real bad name.
Right on. Well, we're glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
So, let me ask you a little tough question. What makes you most stressed out about not having a place to live?
The weather.
Unpredictable.
Traveling, yeah, and numerous times I've been run over. And nobody will stop anymore and help a person on foot. It's just you're pretty much on foot. You're not going, unless the Lord sends somebody to pick you up. You're not going to get picked up nowadays, and you can't blame people. Society's turned into a bad place. You know, it's dangerous nowadays. And even for a person walking, it's dangerous. I mean,
it can be scary to have someone come into your car, but it also can be scary to go into someone else's car that you don't know.
Definitely. I was hitchhiking over in Tennessee and got picked up and robbed. So that left me penniless on the side of the road. And I knew I shouldn't have been walking anyway. I should have just rode a bus or something, but I was trying to save every dime I could, you know. And of course, I guess bad things happen to good people. It happens.
How did it all start? You were saying something about being in the hospital.
Yes, ma'am. I was in the hospital in Colorado, had surgery for over 3 months, and ended up losing my job and my place. So I had to start all over again. And like I said, I met this girl online. She wanted me to come to Tennessee, and of course I'm from the hills, so I thought I'd give it a try.
Yeah.
And it turned out she wasn't everything she portrayed to be. So.
What did you end up in the hospital for?
Started out as a gallbladder surgery, and the surgeon messed up my bile ducts that go from your liver to your intestine, and turned into like a 3-month ordeal. I almost died. But I lost everything, and right back from the start.
One thing they do after surgery is give you a lot of...
Pain medicine. Yeah, they put me back on pain medicine, which I'd hurt my back years ago and got on pain medicine, and that was the hardest thing in my life to ever get off of. I can't say both my divorces have not been my wife's fault. I think they may have been my fault along the way, because I was addicted to pain medication. And my second wife, I don't think she could take it anymore. You know, my addiction was so bad, you know, and it took me getting away from all that and going to Colorado where I could get off the pain medicine. I went through a rehab, you know, and they helped me. And I did. I got off all of it. And
that's tough. That's really awesome.
It was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. It was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
I won't let them do the back surgery. I'm afraid they'll paralyze me. And
then you'll be on pain pills
for the rest of my life, and I don't want to be on that, you know. And they make you jump through all these hoops now. They got so many laws that I'm thankful I don't want to be on them anyway, because I mean they done a lot of damage to me, you know, not to mention they destroyed my life. But I got off of them, and next thing you know, they put me right back on them. And it took me a minute to get off of them again, but I did it again. So it's an epidemic in the country today, you know, especially, you know.
It's killing people. It's killing people all over the world. Yeah. And anyone who gets off of them, it's a miracle, honestly. Yeah. Tell us the most miraculous thing that's happened to you. Something that just completely took you off guard and was just, you couldn't believe it happened in a good way.
Well, I was walking today. I was trying to get to a shelter because in so many small towns today, they don't have any help for a person who's stranded or homeless, or they just kind of put a Band-Aid on it if they can, you know, and they don't have the resources or nothing in the community to help a person that's traveling through there. So your faith in humanity kind of goes down. A person doesn't want to ask for help anyway. Like, I've never expected anybody to give me anything in my life. I've always had to work for it, and that's just the way that it is. And so I really don't know how to go about asking for help, you know, and I'd rather work for it if I can. But I have a firm faith in the good Lord above. And I believe, me personally, it's just my belief, that if it wasn't for him, then I wouldn't be sitting here today. Because during my life, I've been in so many situations that were detrimental to my health that I have no idea how I made it out alive. But I have. And that's just the good Lord above, you know. And today it's 40 miles, you know, to the nearest shelter and on foot. And I've already walked probably 60 miles from Tennessee to Ripley. And I just couldn't make it anymore. And I asked the Lord to help me. And I'll be a good Samaritan. Pulled up, stopped, and give me a ride. And ended up helping me right out of the blue. And that's a miraculous thing in this day and age. Nobody does that anymore. The people are just different nowadays. You know, when I was coming up and raised, my grandma and grandpa would stop on the side of the road and pick up anybody and help them. It was just a thing you did, you know. And unfortunately nowadays you just can't do that. People are just crazy. They are. It's unfortunate, but it is, you know. So I've never harbored any hatred in my heart for people. I mean, that's just the way society has become.
Yeah.
You know, you can't blame them.
That's a beautiful story.
Well,
really.
I never give up hope.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I can't just put my finger on one miraculous thing. I mean, I just can't, but there's so many that have happened along the way. I really believe we all have a divine purpose on this planet. There's a reason we're here. And I've seen so much heartache and trauma in my life. And I've been all across the United States. And I've never really been happy nowhere but in the South. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
It's just a different breed of people, you know, and a different way of life.
What do you hope to get out of your life? The rest of the life that you have to offer to the world, what do you hope to get out of it?
Well, I'd like to get back on my feet, number one, and be self-sufficient, be able to support myself, not have to ask nobody for no help, you know, because I believe we should all be able to do that and given a chance to do that, you know. But if you lose your support network and the people closest to you, you really don't have anything anymore, you know. And the normal American, you know, we're so close to poverty that it's unreal. I mean, your average everyday citizen is 2 paychecks away from being homeless. That's your average person, you know. And I've come to find out that's true. That's true. And once you get down and lose your place, it's hard for a single income person to get back on his feet and get a place to live, a roof over his head. I lived out of my car for I don't know how long, and I ain't complaining. I mean, least I had a roof over my head, you know. But, I mean, unfortunately, life just keeps throwing things at you, you know. It's just a progression of bad luck for me.
What keeps you motivated to keep pushing? What keeps you to not give up? Because I can't imagine the stress and the anxiety of not knowing where you're going to sleep or get your next meal. How do you have that faith?
I just have faith, and God's always provided for me. The good Lord above has. And
well, it sounds like you're in a good place mentally. We just need to get you in a place physically where you can live, actually live, not just get by paycheck to paycheck. So after you come back from Tupelo in the homeless shelter, maybe find a place here in North Mississippi community. There's many small towns, many small places that you would like. You say you like small towns and, you know, little communities, and we have plenty of opportunities here. We love to have you here. We plan on following up with you, and we're gonna fight this.
I'd like that. I want to be successful. You know, so many people are not. And like I said, I've been all across the United States. I've had some pretty good jobs, and I've had some jobs I'm not too fond of. But I was thankful to have a job, always.
Yes.
And you just, I don't know, you feel like you'll always have one, and then something happens like it's happened to me. You get sick, or you have to go in the hospital, and you lose everything. You know, it's hard. It is a humbling experience, to say the least. And it's been my experience that in a bigger community, like a city, it's just not an environment that I thrive in. Some people do, and some people don't. I'm from a slower type community, a smaller type community. And but the homeless epidemic it's all reaching, it's everywhere. I mean, I've seen people living out of their cars just on the road from Tennessee over here to Mississippi. I mean, and it's sad, but it is, you know, the economy is what it is, and jobs are hard to come by anymore. And
if you're not qualified, you're
sure,
not getting it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And once you get knocked off your feet, it is hard to stand back up. That's the thing. And
it's hard to get your morale going back.
It is.
And also just to find an actual job that will take you and will give you sufficient money.
Well,
so
resources are a big thing. I mean, the normal person wouldn't even, like, I wouldn't know who to ask for help. Like, and it's not advertised, unfortunately, you know. Nobody wants to see this epidemic for what it is. It's just something people want to close their eyes to, you know, and it's not something that you really can do anymore. I'd like to get back on my feet and try to help people if I could.
Yeah. Well, we hope that you get back on your feet, and we hope that we can help others together to get back on their feet, because homelessness is an epidemic. It is a very sad, sad place to be. And this is Kiwi, and thank you for watching Hill Country Network.